Hello, it's Graham Coath with another My Music. In a minute, I'm going to be speaking to Simon all about his life in music. But first, a man, a laptop, and a riser. What more do you want?
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Afternoon, Simon. Where are you coming from?
Yeah, in Oxfordshire, near Abingdon.
Abingdon, indeed. What a wonderful place. Been there many a time. Bought many a record in a record shop there before, record shops weren't a thing.
Yeah, modern music.
Let's just take you back in time. When did music start for you?
Well, a long time ago. I remember, listening to the radio in the back of my parents' car and stuff like that. But I think the earliest thing where I thought, yeah, I really like this, it's going to be, you've probably heard this story many a time before, but it's actually, I heard a Beatles album. There we go. It was my grandfather had one of these old gramophone players.
Yeah.
And Hard Day's Night on there. That he didn't really listen to that sort of stuff, but he had Hard Day's Night. And I just remember listening to that going, wow, this is really good. And then, the thing I said to him, I said, Grandad, when you die, can I have your gramophone player and your Hard Day's Night album? And I actually got it before he died. So I had it. So that was my first album. Then I got quite into the Beatles and stuff from about 5, 6 onwards. I remember getting the odd album for a birthday and stuff like that. So that's the thing that really got, that's my first sort of musical thing. Then my brother was listening to, then he was listening to stuff that was a bit different, from the mainstream.
Right. There
from the mainstream stuff. He started off all a bit prog rocky.
Mm-hmm.
So,
as you do. Yeah.
As you do, yeah. And then it all sort of developed. He was sort of playing sort of punk stuff and new wave and things like that. And then I guess the band that I really got into, how you have your tribe, the thing that identifies you, was, I think, Echo and the Bunnymen was the band that,
right.
That was the group I loved.
That was the solidifying element. It's quite interesting. Just going back there a second, there's a couple of things that I pick out from that. One is, isn't it interesting that the Beatles managed to get their way into people's homes, regardless of the fact that they didn't really listen to music.
Right.
It was one of those things, wasn't it? I mean, I can remember my parents didn't really listen to music, and yet they had a Beatles album. It was almost like people felt they needed to own a Beatles album. When other people came round, maybe, even though they didn't actually listen to music themselves. So I'm so glad that was a trend in a way.
Yeah, and they introduced some. When you think about it, so they started off very poppy and stuff, but their stuff they introduced later was quite out there. Stuff when you think like the White Album and things, it's mad. That stuff is mad. Even now, you're listening to it, like that track. Number 9, that track that was on a kind of traditional pop band that was all the grannies were listening to, and yet they were trying some very different stuff. And
which is always great, isn't it? When bands kind of sneak, their alternative side in there.
Yeah.
The Beatles probably did it better than anybody, and kind of led the way in that. And then you said, which was quite interesting, and I've heard this before, that your brother was into prog, but also punk. Isn't that interesting? I always find that interesting because you'd think never the twain should meet.
Yeah, well, there was this thing that people were into the prog, and then the punk came along and they were chucking out all their albums. I remember somebody was talking about being in a student flat or something, and they were going through all their records saying, we can keep that, that's got to go. So they're chucking out the Genesis, Pink Floyd, then the David Bowie, no, that can stay, because there kind of was a big shift.
There's an overlap there,
yeah. But I think nowadays, I mean, my tastes, probably as everyone's, are very eclectic, and you know, there's a place I actually think Foxtrot's a great album, Genesis album. You listen to that, and it's quite Beatley actually when you listen to the what's going on underneath. You know, it's not a bad album.
But I can see similarities between prog and punk because, in a way, they're both a bit out there. You know,
a bit anti-establishment in their own way. But yeah.
Whereas actually, you know, there was kind of middle of the road, which was always there. Which neither of those, they both had very definite followings as well. They both had people that were very passionate about, you know, the music and following those particular bands and those particular groups at the time.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, as you say, they were both a little bit anti, you know, just general middle of the road stuff. So, you know,
yeah, counterculture is a word I often think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then Echo and the Bunnymen came along, like, you know, as I say, like a solidifying element into your music world. What was it about Echo and the Bunnymen that really did it for you?
I think, mate. I mean, I was into. Yeah, so I suppose the Beatles took me on to people like the Doors and Hendrix and stuff like that. So I suppose the Bunnymen did have their roots a bit in, you know, they're a bit psychedelic at times, really. When they first that first album, they've got Crocodiles, which I think is their best actually, even though other people say Ocean Rain and stuff. I still say Crocodiles was really kind of revolutionary and different. It was, I suppose, it was still the kind of the post-punk thing. I still liked all the counterculture, punky, new wave sort of stuff, and they were just taking it a bit further, not just pop songs, but, you know, there's a bit more. You know, I like the image really. I remember when I walked around in
long coats.
First of all, camouflage was the first thing. I used to walk around camo, found this sort of German camo army jacket I used to wear, and then I did wear a long Mac. And actually, in one of our songs, I talk about a long Mac and green flash. It's a track. It's one of our tracks. I remember walking around that going. The song is about me going into nightclubs in Stratford-on-Avon, where I used to live, and just being lost, and just it was how they were awful. And then, you know, someone like me in a long Mac, you know, they were wearing, as I say, out on the track, so everyone's wearing white shirts with ties and tie pins and stuff, and a bit into Luther Vandross and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was only. I'm sort of digressing a bit. It was only when I went to Liverpool and Manchester where you were going to nightclubs and going, "Oh, this is stuff I really like." You know, this is music I can really relate to and link to. So yeah, I did. So going back to that, yes, I did walk around in a long Mac. And I wore green flash, but somebody said I looked like I remember some old bloke said I looked like a sack in pumps.
I think with Echo and the Bunnymen as well, for anyone that was following Echo and the Bunnymen, there was a certain aloofness to it. There was a certain a feeling that you were listening to something fairly intelligent.
Yeah, and a bit theatrical as well. You know, I like the light shows and all the image and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I fell for that quite a lot, that kind of thing.
Have you continued to fall for light shows? Is the theatrical side of music still important to you?
Well, you know, I realise everyone's actually just a normal human being, really, at the end of the day. But I did put people up in a pedestal a bit, but no, I'd say not anymore. You know, no, I like a good song where it's going to get into kind of like a bit of a groove or a bit of a mood, but. Yeah, no, we don't have dry ice at our gigs. I'll just say that. Try it, maybe one day. You know. You
just have people vaping instead, which gives a similar kind of effect. When did you first think I'm going to actually do this music thing?
Well, I remember at primary school forming bands. You know, someone had a Spanish guitar, and we got some ice cream tubs. I remember doing that, but it was only. You know, messing around at school. What actually happened was I'd always sort of had a guitar and sort of was bashing around on it all the time. But I'm just going to let my cat out. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah, it's fine.
There you go.
This always happens. The stray cats get everywhere.
Yeah, there we go. So I'd been playing lots of just. Getting together with people and having the odd jam and stuff, but it was only then one night I had two friends called Simon and Angus who were just sort of jamming a lot in their bedroom after pubs and things like that. And they had lots of little tunes. And then I went back to their house one day, a bit drunk, and I just started singing. I saw a melody and stuff they were doing. I also had my own songs as well. So then it kind of went, oh, this sounds good. And then we just sort of kept doing it. And then we formed a band, got a drummer, and did a few demos and stuff and played around Stratford-on-Avon. And yeah, absolutely loved it. But we did end up splitting up. But that was the start. That was the start of the whole band thing and that whole enjoyment about being with a group of people and making music and that whole thing firing off each other and being creative. So it was.
What was the band called?
They were called Brits Over the Briny.
Well, that's a long name, isn't it?
Yeah. It was. Of course, after that, you get all the. This was before the Brits was created, for the all that award thing. But yeah, Brits Over the Brine. It was just sort of supposed to be some sort of army thing about people being overseas, I think, or something like that. But I think my brother said it as a name. But yeah, and that was really, I still, that band was great. I loved that band. And actually, ironically, many years later, when I was with the Vernons Future a few years ago, the bass player left. And we were around for a bass player, and I said, well, I've got a mate, Simon, who plays bass. I used to play with him. He actually lives down the road in Whitney now. I said, can I give him a call? And he said, yeah, okay. So and he hadn't done anything for 20 years. And I said, oh, do you want to come and be in my band? And he said, he jumped at it. So,
right.
And I now actually see him quite a lot. I actually go around to his house and we do quite a bit of songwriting. So it's been a really good, positive thing.
That's amazing, isn't it? What has he been doing for 20 years?
I don't know, something to do with computers. He's
like everybody. Yeah,
exactly. He does software and stuff like that. Yeah, but he's now, since this has all started going again with him in the band, he started doing. He's because he's quite into computers and stuff. He's actually created his own recording thing in his one of his rooms. So some of the albums, some of this our latest single, I did all the guitar, and all the guitar, and he did all the bass around his house. So so it's been a real it's funny how it's sort of come back again to how all those years ago sitting in a bedroom in Stratford-on-Avon, we're now met up again and playing and doing songs again. So
it's interesting, that cycle, isn't it? Because and I always mention whichever book I'm reading at the time. I'm still making my way through David Byrne's book, How Music Works. I don't know whether you've ever read it, but it's a fascinating book. But he talks about that in there. He talks about the fact that, we kind of started very DIY when it came to recording. And then studios got very technical to the point where, you used to, a band, you used to go to a studio and it was dominated by engineers and tape techs, etc., who would tell you to go and sit in that room and just play, because you couldn't possibly work out how all of this works. Our job is to make you sound good. Your job is to play.
Yeah.
And now it's that world's disappearing, right? Because everything's come back down to, well, actually you can do it on a piece of kit in front of you.
Yeah. And actually, our last single was done. It was a bit. I suppose maybe it's because of post-COVID and all that lot, but it was done pure. It was all done in different places. So I did the guitar and the bass was over in Simon's in Whitney. John, our keyboardist, is a bit of a musician. Well, does a lot of recording. That's the business he works in. But he's got a garden shed, and I just sang the lyrics. And I was down at his house in Barnet, And then our guitarist did his guitar in his house. The drummer did it in his own house. And I was very hesitant not to go down that road, because I do like that thing where you're kind of all together and firing off each other. But I think when you have songs which are quite established and you've rehearsed them a lot, you kind of know what you're all doing anyway. So for Call to Arms, I think it really works. We put it out because we did think it sounded good.
The one element of that which I guess is most impacted more than anything is the vocals. When it comes to actually recording the vocals, how do you go about doing that? Do you then sit and listen to, have you got everything else together first, and then you put the vocals in afterwards, and you kind of sit and listen to it full blast first to kind of immerse yourself in it, or
yeah, I the vocal line is usually when I'm writing songs. I usually write, it's always on the guitar, and I just do the vocal. I have that. I can hear what I'm singing, and I've got the guitar, and then I'll have it. Often, bizarrely, I often wake up with the song in my head. I don't know if other people do that, but I often do that. I just sort of go, ooh. It's every morning I've got something going on in my head. Actually, it's a bit weird. I don't know if it's some biological brain thing or something, but I have the melody, the guitar, and then I work out. Then I bang away. Usually I've got the song is worked out, and then I'll go to the band, or I'll go to Simon and say, I've got some ideas for bass, or have you got any ideas for bass? We'll have a go at the song, and then maybe speed it up, slow it down, and then I go to the band. But it's great because then it changes completely. It turns into something completely different to what you expected, which is the beauty of having 5 other people there. But the vocals, I've usually got the vocal line pretty well straight away,
right?
But the actual lyrics, it's almost like I really want, before I actually put my pen to paper, I've got ideas for the song, but it's only when I know I'm definitely recording that song, that's when I think, right, what I'm actually saying here. What are the exact lyrics? How's it gonna?
Oh, right. So if a song was kind of in skeleton form, but it didn't progress around beyond that, it's kind of like, well, I don't want to kind of commit to that.
In a way,
yeah.
Which is
quite interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, actually, I've got. I was very interested in this one. The White Album, where this is the new version where they've got the Escher tapes.
Yeah,
where it's all acoustic versions, and they've worked out all the songs. You can hear all the lyrics, the whole lot done. Then they've obviously then gone into the studio with the songs already. And I thought, well, maybe I don't know, maybe I should try that. But I've never really done that. I've always sort of waited for the song to be. I know the melody line. I do scat lyrics kind of thing. Always have these sort of token lyrics I sing over stuff. And often the song will develop around an idea that I might be singing about a bit. I might have 1 or 2 lines, but I've never fixed a song and then gone, here's the song. Right, let's turn it into a.
Well, no, I kind of get that. It's because it's about energy at the end of the day. And if you're the kind of person that wakes up with a song on a regular basis, and you're kind of, your brain is putting energy into that, you don't want to expel too much energy in one particular place, and unless it's focused.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense to me. I mean, I'm similar in that, I get up and I write stuff for people on a day-to-day basis, and people come and say to me, well, how on earth do you think of ideas every single day? How on earth do you come up with these different subjects, these different topics?
Yeah.
And I just do, I find that I immerse myself in life, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I walk around a bit like a sponge, I guess. I don't know whether you feel like that you kind of, when you're out, when you're seeing people, when you experience, things just happening, you kind of take note of that, and it goes in, and it kind of sits there and permeates and goes, right, okay.
And those things do then come out in songs. Yeah, definitely. Ideas, books, bit of a film, whatever it does. But it's weird how it might be years before it suddenly appears in a song.
It doesn't need to be right that minute. It's not necessarily what you're reading right now will come out, or what you've saw today will come out tomorrow. It's more a case of, I think it's more a case of allowing yourself to be observant, really, and kind of, open to. Are you as a person, are you quite open to sort of like learning and finding out about new things? Or
I'm always I'm just always reading or listening or podcasts, or Yeah, I mean that's the CDs there. Over the other here, that's my. I've got a few books up and down there.
Oh, just a few.
Just
Those are all the ones you wrote last week.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do. I don't know. I always worry I think too much. Actually, my wife says I think too much. But there you go.
But you don't really. What you do is you're thinking. I think you're absorbing, and then it that seeps out. But then that's probably why when it comes to writing the lyrics, that's gonna have to be something that's really right for that time and right for that moment, etc. So it's not a case of whereas the initial idea could have seeped out of this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
You've then got to bring it back round to something that you feel really comfortable with.
Yeah.
And you've got to feel comfortable with it for a long period of time as well, because once it's written, it's
it's there forever, isn't it? That's the thing. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah, I do feel. That's weird. I think bizarrely, I think I'm quite a private person, and then I go and put all this stuff out on lyrics and stuff, which is kind of just me. There you go. That's very, very open. Really, it's a strange thing, really. So I remember listening to a Amy Winehouse interview, and she was just saying her songs are just so from the heart and just about all the stuff that she was going through. And she said she found it so weird. She's standing up on stage, and all these people were hearing her saying all these things in her songs, and but also loving it. But it wasn't really for them. She was just saying it for how she was feeling at the time and stuff, and very, very personal stuff. I don't know how personal mine is, but some of it is.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's a cathartic experience on the one hand, and as you say, it's for yourself. But then that's again though. There's something that happens when you create a piece of music, which is quite fascinating as well. Which is that once the listener hears it, what that means to that person, even if they understand what you meant by it. That it transforms. It's what they then understand by it, which becomes really interesting. And I do you also love songs where it's in a way it's quite ambiguous as a listener? Do you quite like it when it's like, who knows what that song's about? But I feel quite deeply emotionally moved by that.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. I don't really follow lyrics and things. Think what exactly is he talking about? But I get my idea, and in a way, I kind of put my own stamp on it, what I think it's about. Yeah, and actually, it's bizarre that you do get articles where people saying, do you know what this song is really about? And those are always interesting. Actually, what they're really singing about, like, the drugs don't work by the Verve. That's actually his father dying. That's quite sad, a very sad song because the drugs weren't making him better, and yet you all think it's something about your ordinary drugs that you see in the pop scene, the kind of world, but it completely changes the whole meaning of it, But yeah, I don't really delve too much into exactly what people are saying. I just get my own idea from it, and then that's I run with that. That's what I think the song is about. Yeah. So I mean, Andy, our guitarist, was we had to do a thing for a promotion about what some of the songs are about, and he was saying, I think the songs about are this, aren't they? And then he told me, I said, no, not at all. Actually, completely different. Yeah, so even the guitar, he'd got a completely different idea of what I was actually singing about. Yeah. So,
but I think that's lovely. I think that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
And I think it can, in a way, if everything can just be read, I think that's actually one of the things that's so good about music that is actually quite different from a lot of other arts. A lot of our other arts are probably easier to go back and interpret in a very read way. Whereas music, I think, even if someone's written out on one of these websites, this is what it means. I don't think that matters for toffee, really, because actually, if someone's heard it and it means they've created this meaning of it, which has touched them in a particular way, and it for them it means this. That's fine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's you can't get it wrong really, which is like really nice. That's the thing about yeah.
So let's talk about the new album. What are some of the subjects you are talking about on the new album?
I should have one here and just be sort of showing it, shouldn't I? What we've got Call to Arms is that is about climate. That's quite a straightforward one. And then Just Can't Help Myself, which I think is the second one. That's actually about my kids, about I think how great I think they are, really. Basically, that's it. About because there's one thing, it has a line about I'm Lazarus to you or something, and so it's about you how you kind of like children come pick you up and make you live again a bit, or make you enhance your life, Then you've got Holy Joe, that's all about religion really. My thoughts on that, which are all kind of a bit all over the place. Basically summed up, I think again, you talk about, you hear things from years ago. Well, I heard this bloke saying once that he liked going into empty churches. He found those a really nice place to be, but as soon as it fills up, he's straight out. Gets out there, and I kind of got that. I thought, you're going to whatever you believe, sort of going to church. It's like it's a kind of chilling, nice place. But then I like that idea, what he was saying, and I kind of agree. You sort of fill it up, and there's all these other people around and think, no, I feel a bit uncomfortable here. I want to. And that's the kind of thing that song is about, that threads throughout it. These conflicting ideas all the time about
the kind of idea that sort of religion is mainly man-made.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
a way. Yeah,
exactly.
That if you can find a space somewhere where you might meet with God. Yeah, or you can find a space where you're spiritually in tune, right? Which is between you and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you put people there, it's a club, and is that club a good club or a bad club? And what are the absolutely. I think I think a lot of people in this day and age struggle with that. Which is that because we probably all grew up in a religious household, or we knew someone that was, that did go to church, etc. And and now it's there's no denying as well, as I guess, that having all of us gone through the pandemic, which saw everybody on this earth, as it were, coming together suddenly in this kind of common thread of actually we're not all that. That it does kind of prick your alertness to there is a greater thing happening here, but ultimately we're pretty crap at this.
I saw a clip of it was a Leonard Cohen song. No, it's a Leonard Cohen film just come out called Hallelujah. And it's like the world is very, very complicated. You can never understand the world. You can either fight against it, he said, or you can say Hallelujah. That was his line. I thought, that's a nice line, I thought, and I'm not quite sure what he's saying, but I did quite like that. I suppose really, at the end of the day, I suppose it's part of me that's a bit, I don't know, spiritual a bit, but it's all this as you're saying, it's all this conflicting stuff going on in your head all the time. And I find it more it's just me making observations. I find it fascinating because at the end in the chorus, it sounds very pretentious here, but there's a Voltaire talks about, I think in his book Candide, he just talks about there's all this stuff going on in the whole book, and he just said, I should just stay in my garden and dig the garden with life like that. And actually, that's what the chorus is about. It's just like, I'm just going to sit in my garden and get on with that. Get on with the garden, growing something. That's the not to get too heavy, but that's the song.
And you managed to wrap all of this up in lovely pop and
Yeah,
tunes.
yeah, trying to get into everyone's houses with this little poppy, because we, our line on our bio on social media is we're at the poppier end of the indie spectrum, and I do like a good pop tune. That's the end of the day, so
it's thinking person's pop. There's a good one.
That's it. Thinking person's pop.
Yeah, I think as well. It sounds to me through talking to you that you're a bit like me. You're very interested in the dialogue. So you're interested in putting these thoughts and ideas and almost conversation starters out there.
Yeah. Yes. You could argue that. Yeah. Definitely on that Holy Joe one is just these are my thoughts. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
So are you quite interested in getting kind of people's feedback? Do you use things like social media, etc., to follow those trains of thought and follow that up, or are you not?
Not really. I don't really have conversations on social media with people. It's basically on social media. Really, it's Andy does the Twitter. Andy is our guitarist, and he's the driving force, the kind of like the manager. He's the one he's the doer in the band. I just sort of sit around trying to work out songs and stuff, and I'm not great at putting myself out there as far as talking to people and having conversations and dialogue, as you say. But so yeah, I don't. More, it's just sort of leave it with the songs, and then take it if you want to have a think about what I'm singing about. Then good. Then again, if more people are listening and we get more of a following and stuff, then I would definitely. Like I'm talking to you now, I'm quite happy to talk about stuff, and I'm not great,
but maybe not online. Maybe down the pub with a
probably pint. Yeah, that'd be better. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because
then you're not navigating what's real and what's not real as well, aren't you? I mean, it's I kind of miss old English pubs, don't you? I think that there was something about. When I was growing up, there's something about sort of just going down the pub, not from the drinking point of view, but just from that conversational point of view. And it wasn't actually a conversation about being out. It was a conversation. We used to go down and talk about C.S. Lewis and Chaucer and topics.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a nice pub around the corner actually. I do go there occasionally. I suppose I have most conversations actually with the band, because I was listening to this bloke just on the radio last week saying about how men struggle with friendships, but what they do is they do stuff together, whereas women will have this sort of very emotional connection with each other. And he's called Mark Dickens. You have a look him up on Twitter, comedian. But he's just written a book called Billy No Mates, and it's about how really men will end up just having it's their wives they'll be friends with their wives' friends' partners, something like that. But actually, men are better at, if they're doing something, like so in the band, it's great. We kind of all meet together because we're in a band. We're doing stuff. We're not all kind of getting together to have the, these sort of like talking too emotionally or anything like that. But it's so that's a very good thing actually.
So as men, are we aquaplaning most of the time?
Well, I think that's basically saying the aquaplaning, saying the world is aquaplaning. We're just going too fast, out of control. We need to put the brakes on and just be a bit more aware of what's going on. But yeah. But
maybe some of us are as well. We just need to ground ourselves in a little group.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Yeah. I mean, men definitely need to get out there a bit more and just join a club or something. Get on a bike with a load of people, or join a football team, or be in a band.
Be in a band.
Recommend. Highly recommend it.
There you are. Simon's recommending Being a Band. So that's a great place to stop. Simon, thanks for coming and talking to me today. Just so everyone knows, where do people get the music?
Well, we're on Bandcamp. So you can buy the album on Bandcamp, but we're also on all the I think on SoundCloud. But we're on all it. We're on. You can download it on Amazon. You can stream it on Spotify, and actually all those other ones like Deezer. If you're in, I think French like Deezer, but all those places, the all our tracks are available. The album together will be out on the 7th of October. The CD you can buy on Bandcamp, or come to a gig and you can buy it there, plus T-shirts as well. So we've really gone for the merch, which I'm thoroughly enjoying as well. No mugs yet. I was saying I was drinking this today. You recognise that? That's this is my Johnny Marr mug that he drank out of this mug.
No, really?
He was around a friend was parking. Yeah, there's a thing going on downstairs in their flat, and this bloke was trying to park, and a friend opened the door and said, "Can I help you?" And it was Johnny Marr, and he came into their flat, and then they got to know him, and then he when he was around here, he drank out of this mug when he was at their flat. Then they ended up making a video for him, which is another thing. I need them to do that for me as well, actually. But,
it's amazing. Story. We make videos as well. You can always talk to me about that. There we go.
Another time. Yeah, definitely.
Johnny Marr, great man. I feel that he's getting better and better and better actually as a solo artist as well. I really do. So
I've got the Messenger album. That's a great album, and it's great, really good live.
Try the new album.
Oh,
amazing,
right.
Absolutely amazing.
Okay,
Simon, thanks for coming to talk to me this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure. Do keep in touch. Everybody, do go and check out Vernons Future Aquaplaning. Find it, download it, and pay them some money so that they can carry on doing it.
Excellent. Yeah.
Until next time, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.